when I walk into anywhere and they say, you have 7 kids, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. And then there's usually like 18 questions that come after it. Number 1, are you Irish? Number 2, are you Mormon? Number 3 is, are you Catholic, right?
Amish.
What are you, what Amish, what church do you belong to? And then, the next question is with just one wife? And yes, it is. It goes on and on. So rarely do I get a chance to meet someone who has more children than I do. And when I found this out, Brett's an amazing guy. Obviously we follow each other through Facebook, and I saw his family photo, and I'm like, you have 8 now? Oh my gosh. And I yelled across from him, like, honey, I got introduced to a buddy of mine who's got 8 kids, and she's like, oh my gosh, we should have another.
Sorry.
So thanks for the inspiration.
Sorry.
No, nothing, never apologize, man. Never apologize. It's so funny. I get questions like this too. It's like, well, do you ever regret having? Do you ever regret not stopping at 5?
There's a couple of them.
Totally. We can get rid of those too. So Brett Curry is, I think, rounds off a lot of what we've been doing, and I'm probably going to say the same about James, but on a different topic, is his focus over the last few years has been, when I first met him, he was doing a lot of Google shopping. Google shopping. And then what's been great is he's been doing, through Ezra, I found out that he's doing a lot of YouTube, Google Display Network, and Google Shopping. And the reason I asked him to come speak is I believe, based on yesterday, how traffic from one channel leaks over to the other channel, and that if you're not, and Jason Kriski hit it perfectly when he's talking about attribution, is that if you don't have a plan and strategy and assets, optimizing that or communicating with your customers in those other channels, you're completely missing out. You're just missing. They're missing out. You're missing out. And so I wanted to bring Brett. So Brett's a father of 8, great guy. He runs, I'll let him introduce some of his stuff, but he runs the Boom by Cindy Joseph, which is Ezra's company, Ezra's whole map that he showed yesterday. Brett runs the Google Shopping, YouTube, and I don't know, do you do Google Display for him as well?
A little bit.
A little bit, okay. And he's also the Shopify's recommended, the guide for using, right? What's it called?
Yeah, wrote the Google Shopping Guide, the ultimate guide that Shopify published. So.
Awesome. So let's give it up for Brett Curry, and let's get it.
Awesome, man, I am pumped to be here. I've heard nothing but this room is so smart. Like, the people in this room are brilliant, they're geniuses. I don't know if people were telling me that, like, secretly saying they're probably smarter than you. Like, just to spur me on or something, I don't know. But really, really excited to be here, and yes, I do have more kids than Ed. That was not a competition. My wife and I always wanted to have a big-ish family, and then we totally overachieved. And so, Ed, all I got to say is you're a quitter, buddy. So,
yeah. Hey, he's got 7 kids too.
Hey, all right.
Kids. It's great.
Good. Yeah. Little did you know,
it's contagious. Come on up. Whoever needs. Let's go. Let's get after
people
it.
are heading for the exits right now. So I've had the privilege of writing for some pretty cool places, Search Engine Journal. Anybody here running Google Shopping? So you're running Google Shopping for your business? Not that many. That's fascinating. I love it. One of my goals then will be to convince you to do that by the end of this talk. How many of you guys are running search ads, so text ads on Google? And then what about YouTube? How many of you guys are running YouTube ads? Not a whole lot. Less than half for sure. So I'm excited about that. If you really want to geek out on Google Shopping, I did write the ultimate guide to Google Shopping, so if you just search for Google Shopping Guide on Google, it's the #1 result. Shopify published it. It's like 52 pages of pure nerd. So if you're into Google Shopping, I think you'll love it. If you're not into Google Shopping, it could totally be the cure to insomnia. So if you're having trouble sleeping tonight, download that guide. If you're not interested in shopping, it will likely do the trick. So I also run a podcast, E-Commerce Evolution, all about e-commerce. And the reason I mention that is because we're doing a series called How I Did It. And I want to feature interesting e-commerce stories. So we'd love to talk to you if you've done some unique stuff in your space. and don't mind opening up a little bit. You don't have to reveal all your secrets. But if you want to open up a little bit, love to have you on the podcast. My buddy Ezra Firestone has sponsored it and helped promote it, so it's really growing and gaining some traction. And it's a ton of fun. So hook up with me afterwards if that is of interest. Now, what I want to talk about, and I'm so glad that there are a lot of you that are not using Google Traffic, because I think you're really missing some opportunities here. And so I want to kind of lay that out. I do want this talk to be primarily tactical. So hopefully you can leave here with 5 or 6 things you can put to work right away. I do want to talk a little bit about mindset and a little bit about kind of the overarching framework and how you should look at this, because that does make an impact, but we will get pretty technical. Anybody here not advertising on Google because of policy restrictions or violations with supplements? Anybody here been had issues with Google on that, where you've been disapproved or whatever? So I'm not going to talk a whole lot about that, but I do have a resource that our Google reps put together. So we're a Google Premier Partner, top 3% of Google agencies. If you need help in that regard, I'm happy to chat. I'll be here all day. I've also got a resource that I can send to Ed that he can send to everybody. It's really just like a guide for supplement businesses. Like, these are the things you can and can't say. This is how you can and can't advertise. So it kind of walks you through that, which I think will be helpful. So I'm glad. So somebody yesterday talked about attribution. Is that right? I missed yesterday, but did someone talk about attribution a little bit? Yeah. So there's this issue with digital marketing where there's both a blessing and a curse. The blessing of being able to measure everything, right? And I was an old offline ad guy for a long time, did TV, radio, dabbled in a little bit of print, direct mail. But the reason I love digital marketing, online marketing, is because you can measure it. You can see what people are doing on a website and how many people converted and all these things. And that's good, but there also is this tendency then to measure the wrong things, or to look at every campaign like it's a silo, right? So it sounds like the guy yesterday talked about bleed over from one traffic source to another. So we may have a tendency to look at every campaign like it's a silo, like it exists all on its own. And we may look at a campaign and say, if this campaign doesn't drive as many conversions as that campaign, then I'm going to kill it, right? Or I'm going to decrease the budget to it. And so there really is a better way, though, and I'm going to use a sports analogy. You guys cool with sports analogies? Everybody go with that? My team, we got a team of 17. Sometimes they chafe at all the sports analogies that I use. So we have this tendency, though, to look at things like they're compartmentalized or like they're a silo. But the better way to look at your campaigns is how they work together and how you can harness the power of all your campaigns to build and expand your funnels. So we want to look at how do we build and expand the funnel, right? And not just looking at a sales funnel where you've got one landing page that leads to a cross-sell or a downsell, but more like a shopping funnel. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. So if you'll advance to the next slide, would please. And let me know when that clicker is ready. Really the key is you don't want to measure every campaign by the same criteria, right? So your Facebook campaigns are not going to work the same as your Google Shopping campaigns, and none of them are going to work the same as your YouTube campaigns. They all have different strengths and they do different things, and so we can't measure them by the same criteria. Yeah, go ahead and go to that next slide. Anybody here an NBA fan from the 90s? Anybody believe that the 90s, those were the glory days? Thank you so much. Glory days of the NBA? Yes! Yes, I love that. That's exactly how I feel about the 90s NBA. Now, I still watch the NBA. I coach basketball. I coach my son's team. So I still like basketball today. I'm not completely stuck in the 90s. But for my money, this is still the best team ever. 72-10. This was the 95-96 Bulls. They did, yeah, that's right. They did win the NBA Finals. I know the Golden State Warriors had a better record last year, the year before, but they did not complete the task. So for me, it's the Bulls. And so obviously we all know, like, who was the heart and soul of the team? Why was the team arguably the greatest ever? Tony Kukoc. I love it. Tony Kukoc, underrated, man. He was totally underrated. Why does nobody love Tony Kukoc? The guy could shoot, he could drive. So yeah, it was Michael Jordan, though, right? Greatest player of all time, still, in my opinion. And so he would, drop 55 one night and 35 the next, and play defense, and he was such a competitor. And I've told my boys this that I coach. I was like, I don't want you to do this, but Michael Jordan was so intense in practice that if a teammate wasn't working hard enough, there was even one story where he punched one of his own teammates because he's like, if you're going to play on my team and you're not going to work hard, I'm not having it, right? So I did not encourage punching, but I did want, some of that intensity, at least a little bit of that intensity. But it was also, this team was also good because of the guy on the far left there, right? Who's number 91. I hesitate talking about this guy because totally nuts, right? Completely, totally nuts. But who is number 91 there on the left? Yeah, Dennis Rodman. I love his passion. This is awesome. So Dennis Rodman, he was not necessarily a scorer, but he would do stuff like this, right? All the time. So this is a picture taken in Sports Illustrated, diving for loose balls. So I watched a video on YouTube the other day of him guarding Shaq, and he made Shaq so mad that Shaq started swinging at him, and then Dennis Rodman just smiled at him with like this creepy, insane smile. But Rodman was extremely valuable because he would do stuff like this, and he'd get in the head of the opponent, and he'd get rebounds and kick the ball back out to Jordan. He was creating scoring opportunities, right? So you can imagine, though, that the coaches may look at the box score after a game, and they would say, Jordan dropped 55 last night on the Knicks. Rodman scored like 4, right? So what do we do with this guy? Let's see if there's a market to trade him, right? Or let's just bench him. We got to get another Jordan on the floor, right? Because Rodman's not scoring enough. Well, anybody that knows the game knows that's crazy, right? Rodman was so valuable. It's not just about those points that they're scoring, right? It's beyond that. And so what we do when we're looking at marketing, and if we want to look at these channels, Google Shopping is a workhorse. Google Shopping, if you do it right, I'm going to show you several examples, it will convert like crazy, right? It's one of the channels that puts the ball in the bucket, right? It's one of the channels that puts points on the board. YouTube will never work like Google Shopping, right? And so if we approach it with that mindset, we're always going to be disappointed. And YouTube is going to fail for us if that's the mindset we use. So we're going to look at is how do we use these channels together? And we do want to measure, right? We can't just be blind and say, I used to be in the advertising world, radio, and so our big pitch was, hey, we want to help you get your name out there, right? So spend money with us, and we don't know if you'll get sales, but we'll get your name out there. So that's on one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is where we measure everything and we expect everything to be Michael Jordan. And so where's somewhere in between, where we're still measuring and tracking everything, but we're expecting the channels to do what they should do and what they're kind of designed to do. So really we can look at shopping funnels and consider how big do we want our funnel to be? And so if you think about the way people shop, at the very top of the funnel, that's kind of the awareness phase, right, where someone's just beginning their research, just beginning to see what's out there. Somebody give me an example of a product you've searched for online recently, something you've shopped for. Not everybody at once.
MCT oil.
MCT oil, great. So MCT oil, I want that brain function, right? I want that clarity from the MCT oil. And so maybe I'm just beginning the process, and I've heard a couple of my buddies talking about MCT oil, but I don't know anything about it. So now I'm maybe typing in things like best MCT oil, or what is MCT oil? And that's going to be at the very top of that funnel where I'm just becoming aware. I'm just kind of gathering data. I'm just seeing what's out there and what I could possibly buy, right? In that evaluation stage, now I've got some info. Now I'm looking at, hey, this MCT oil. So now maybe I'm looking at Bulletproof versus another brand, and I'm deciding, hey, which is better? What are the reviews saying? What are the sites saying? How do I make my decision? And then at the bottom, it's all about when and where do I buy, right? So now I know I want to buy. Now it's about waiting for the right deal or the right time or the right site to purchase from. And so what we want to do then is look at how do we structure campaigns to reach people at the different stages of the funnel and then pull them through to conversion, all right? So who here, and be as enthusiastic as you possibly can, who here wants to scale?
Yeah. Woo!
That was extremely underwhelming. Let's do this like Tony Robbins style. Who here wants to scale? Yes! That was a really silly question because I know all of you do, that's why you're here. But who wants to scale? If you want to scale, if you want to build your business, you really have to start with the bottom of the funnel. So you want the bottom of the funnel to be rock solid. You want the bottom of the funnel to be a conversion machine. And so my belief here is, how many of you, Facebook is your primary ad source, primary channel? I figured it'd be basically the whole room. Anybody here seeing ad costs go up on Facebook? So I spoke at Traffic and Conversion Summit last month. I think Ryan Dice gave a stat where they're seeing as much as a 30% cost increase on some of their Facebook traffic and some of their verticals. And so, that's one of those things we have to consider. We have people calling us all the time now saying, hey, my Facebook costs are going up, we're trying to diversify a little bit, help us do that. The first step is to build bottom of funnel. And so this will help as we layer on other Google traffic sources, but this will also help tremendously with getting more from your Facebook traffic as well. So as you're driving that Facebook traffic, this bottom of funnel that I'm going to show you right now will help you convert more of those leads also. So let's talk about these 4 pillars. So these are the 4 pillars for Google bottom of funnel. We're going to break these down. I'm going to give you some examples and show you how to do it. But the first is branded search. So many people don't do that, think they shouldn't do that, think it's a waste. I'm going to show you otherwise in just a second. I want to talk about bottom of funnel Google Shopping. So how do we use Google Shopping for bottom of funnel? A couple of audience targeting things we can do. I'm going to show you what we're doing for Boom by Cindy Joseph with Ezra and show what that looks like. Display remarketing and then YouTube remarketing. And those are extremely powerful. And I think once you start building there, display and YouTube remarketing, then you can start to go higher in the funnel. So let's talk about branded search. So it's a client of ours, Smarty Pants Vitamins. So, I hear a lot of people say, hey, why would I pay for clicks on my own name, right? If someone searches for my name, my organic listing is going to be at the top, guaranteed, right? My organic listing is going to be at the top. Well, there are a few reasons. So one, you do often want to rank ahead of your competitors, right? And so like with Smarty Pants as an example, some of their retailers, some other people are also bidding on that term. So that's an obvious one. If any competitor is bidding on your name, you want to rank above that. Also, I think it's a good defensive mechanism. So to keep competitors from bidding on your name, if your ad is there, that kind of keeps them at bay because you're always going to have a better ad rank. You're always going to outrank your competition for your own name, even in the ads. But almost more importantly than that is just controlling the SERP, right? Controlling that search engine results page, where you control the message, you control how much of the space you own and control. And so this is where you can choose your site links, so the links to your site that people go to, you get to choose that, spell that out, looking at things like extensions and really controlling the marketing message. Because if you just rely on Google Organic, while you do have some control over what they show in the organic results, you don't have nearly as much control as you do with branded ads. But here's a third reason why you want to do branded search that a lot of people don't think about. If you think about how many people, what percentage do you think of people click on one of your ads and then buy immediately? High percentage or low percentage? I don't know that I asked that correctly. So I think yeah, someone said low. So yeah, people that click on your ads and buy immediately. Maybe in some cases, like if it's a tripwire or a really easy offer, maybe a high percentage buy right away. But usually people don't buy on that first click. They usually don't buy that first time they see you. It takes a little bit of time after that. Well, here's what happens. Sometimes, someone may click on a Facebook ad, visit your site, they don't purchase. Now they maybe go and watch a YouTube ad, they visit your site, they don't purchase. Later they come back and just type in your name. So now they know your brand of MCT oil, so I'm looking for Joe's MCT oil. Now I click and purchase. Facebook is pretty good at cross-channel attribution, right? Because how many Facebook accounts do you have? Everyone's got one Facebook account, right? And you're likely logged in everywhere. With Google, how many people here have more than 3 Gmail accounts? Anybody more than 5? Yeah, so if you look at Gmail, and Google's getting better and better at tracking everything, but often you'll be logged into different Gmail accounts on your phone than you are on your desktop, or different at work than you are at home. And so Google's still pretty good at connecting the dots, but in my opinion, they're not as good as Facebook, because you usually have one Facebook account. So Facebook has almost near cross-channel attribution, right, where they can see you came from this channel, then converted on this channel. So what this branded search campaign does for us is it allows us to it helps us connect the dots, where we see, hey, someone clicked on this display ad or this shopping ad, they did not convert, but they did convert through the branded campaign. And we can track that much easier if it's a campaign versus just organic, okay? So let's talk about bottom of funnel shopping, okay? So this is where you're either bidding on your brand name, where you're saying, so in the case of Boom by Cindy Joseph, anytime anybody types in Boom by Cindy Joseph, we want a Google Shopping ad to show up for that person. But even more than that, think about this from your own shopping experience. Have you ever seen a product that you thought was just crazy cool on Facebook? And maybe you clicked through to the site, but then you didn't buy because you're busy or whatever. And then like a day or two later, you're thinking, man, what was that product I clicked on? What was that? I know for me, I've been to the Mizzen and Main site a few times looking at their dress shirts. And then I've seen a couple ads for similar type products that I've thought, oh, that looks kind of cool. Like I'm gonna check that out, go to the site, and then I completely forget the name of that product. So what I might be tempted to do after that is what? Like if I can't remember the name, where would I maybe go to try to find this product? Go to Google, right? And I start typing in all kinds of descriptors, trying to find my way back to this product, right? And so this is one of those things where, one, you do want to make sure you got good coverage on your own brand name, but also taking a remarketing list and maybe just targeting the remarketing list only with your shopping campaign. So it's called an RLSA, or remarketing list for search ads. And this is where you can take any of your remarketing lists, and I'll talk about the best list to use in a minute, but take any of your remarketing lists, layer that onto a Google shopping campaign. And you can do one of two things. You can either just bid more on that list, or you can do what we did with Boom, and we wanted to have like a separate remarketing list for search ad campaign, where basically, because Ezra's remarketing lists are really big, and so those campaigns were only targeting his remarketing list. And so our thought there was, hey, if someone has been to the Boom website, or they've consumed a Boom video, we want to show up Google Shopping for anything that's even closely related to makeup, right, and skincare. And so it's called an RLSA campaign, a remarketing list for search ads. And this is the idea. If they've been to your site or consumed a video, target them on Google Shopping for broader keywords. Now, I don't want to get into all the nitty-gritty of Google Shopping, but you can't actually pick your keywords, right? So Google Shopping kind of has an element of SEO to it. Anybody an SEO person from back in the day? That's how I got started in online marketing, was SEO, and so it's still a passion of mine. But you kind of influence Google Shopping like you do SEO. So your product title, description, other data in your product feed, that helps drive what keywords you show up for. So it's mainly your feed and your bid, that's what drives what you show up for, because Google really picks what they think you're relevant for. But what we can do here is if we're just targeting a remarketing list, we can bid crazy high amounts on Google Shopping because we know our ads are only going to show up for somebody that's been to our site or someone that has watched it. Is that making sense? Is that making sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what it looks like. So I was just looking at some of the data for Boom. We try to put all the branded traffic, actually a branded campaign, and bid way down on it. But this is what happened in the RLSA campaign. Again, people who've been to the site, maybe they love the product and then they don't remember the name of it, right? And they don't remember what it was. So this is all remarketing lists, but these are some of the keywords that they typed in. Women's skincare, makeup for older women, 3-in-1 makeup, most effective facial masks, right? They did not remember the name Cindy Joseph. That or they were too lazy to type it in, probably they didn't remember. So they typed in those keywords and then they converted like crazy. So I was looking this morning, about $1.84 cost per conversion to this list. So again, these are, we were casting a broad net as far as keywords go, all kinds of keywords, but it's only to a remarketing list. But about $1.84 cost per conversion. Spend $1, get 27 in sales. If it's a quick question, I'll take it.
Quick question. So they have a marketing list, are you saying that they visited that page, you've already uploaded them from an email list that you know that they opted in for something similar?
Yep. So it's a great question. So it can be either, and I'll talk about my favorite list in a minute, but it can either be a list of people that have visited certain pages. So it could be a list you build in Google Analytics of people that fit certain criteria. It could be a list of buyers. It could be your email list that you upload, which would be called customer match. So it could be a variety, right? So here are some of the goals, and I will get into the list in a little bit. Here's some of the goals then. For bottom of funnel, it's all about conversions, right? So I was talking about how you don't want to treat a Dennis Rodman like Michael Jordan because they're not the same thing. But for bottom of funnel, man, it's all about conversions. So really high return on ad spend goal. So like with Ezra, with this particular campaign, we're spending $1, we're getting 27 back in return. A lot of that is just a testament of his branding and the momentum he's got in other channels. But this campaign is helping clean some of that up, right? Because if you think about it, if you go back to these keywords, there's no guarantee these people are going to buy from Boom, right? Almost kind of a guarantee they weren't. Even though they had been to the site, now they're typing in random stuff, not Boom related. So we were not guaranteed to get these people. But really high return on ad spend goals. Likely relatively lower volume, right? Lower volume at the bottom of the funnel, but extremely high efficiency. If you start to drive the type of traffic that Ezra drives, then maybe the volume's going to be higher, but this is more about efficiency. So let's talk then about remarketing with YouTube. Who here is doing YouTube remarketing? You do have some limitations when you're selling supplements and stuff like that. We are doing it. Depends on a few factors that we can kind of get into offline. But YouTube remarketing, absolutely love it. So this is where you upload a list. These campaigns are controlled inside of AdWords, but you're telling Google, hey, if any of these people that have been to my site are now cruising YouTube and watching a how-to video or Justin Bieber video or something like that, now show them my pre-roll video. Who here knows on Facebook, how long does it take before Facebook counts a view? How many seconds? Does someone have to? 2 or 3. Is it 2 or 3? I've heard 2 or 3. I'm not a Facebook guy. Yeah, 2 or 3. So I've heard 3, I think, the most. So 3 seconds, Facebook considers something a view. Anybody know how long someone has to engage with a video on YouTube before they? It's actually, yeah, I knew Justin would know. It's 30 seconds. So you either have to watch for 30 seconds or the whole video if the video is less than 30 seconds. So what's awesome about that on YouTube is that if I watch 28 seconds, and I think actually the countdown is like 29.5 seconds, but we'll call it 30 just to be easy. But if I watch 28 seconds of your video and think, that was pretty cool, but now I'm done, and I click skip, you would pay nothing for that view, right? So you pay nothing for that. Someone has to either watch the video to the 30-second point, or they have to click through to your site, and they have to engage with your site. So either way they go, whether they click through to your site or whether they engage with the video, you're paying what's called a CPV, or a cost per view. And we're seeing rates anywhere from a couple of pennies all the way up to 15, 20 cents per view, depending on how targeted, how specific our audience is. But this is extremely powerful. So we're running this also with Boom and getting crazy conversion rates. So Ezra's got a goal for anything that's remarketing. So he's got kind of a top of funnel CPA goal. He's got a bottom of funnel CPA goal. And for our YouTube TrueView, we're at about half his remarketing list CPA goal. So he's got a goal for remarketing list. We're coming in at about half that for YouTube. YouTube's very, very effective. It's still, I'm seeing more people advertise there, but it's still so wide open, guys. The costs are really low. It's exciting for top of funnel, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, but it's still wide open. There's so many opportunities on YouTube. It's something you have to look at, in my opinion. These are my favorite lists from least converting to most converting. So if you're just getting started building a list, then you may have to go with all visitors. I know you guys are more advanced, and you're driving a lot of traffic most likely. So I would recommend you start kind of lower on that page. So product page viewers. Maybe you want to look at someone who's visited more than one product detail page if you got a really big list. Cart visitors. And we typically like to split that up into 7-day, 15-day, 30-day. That's what we do for a lot of products like Boom, as an example. Other products, like we sell barbecue grills and some other things that have a little bit longer selling cycle, then you maybe want to expand that to like a 30 or 60-day window on that audience. But cart visitors, cart abandoners, man, they convert like crazy. And then there's also the customer list. So Jim in the back asked about email lists. You can upload your email list to Google, and then Google will create what's called a customer match list. So look at all those emails on that email list. They'll match it to known Google users and create a customer match list. You can also target them with your YouTube ads as well. Now, here is where we have a lot of fun, something we've done for Boom and for other clients as well, where you find someone who's bought one product but not purchased another product, right? So in the case of Boom, it's maybe someone who's bought Boom Silk, but they have not purchased Boom Cotton. And so you can actually build this list in Google Analytics, where you can say, hey, someone who's purchased, but they have not purchased this product or been to these pages. It's not that hard to set up. I've got a guide that I can kind of show you how to do that. So here's what we would do in this case. We know these are Boom buyers, but we know they have not purchased Boom Cotton, as an example. So we run for them an ad with Cindy Joseph on YouTube, talking about the benefits of Boom Cotton, got some social proof mixed in there, got some testimonials, got an offer thrown in there, and so that has been extremely effective in getting people to buy that product, right? Makes sense, right? Those are people that have purchased before. We just know they haven't bought this product. So as you can imagine, you can kind of use this as a sequence, right? So right now we're building out a funnel for a client who's in the health space. And so they're creating kind of this top of funnel YouTube campaign that sends people to a free course. And then once someone takes that free course, now we've got a YouTube funnel that kicks in and promotes a paid course. And then once they go through that paid course and we put them on a list, now we've got Google Shopping and search ads and more YouTube to sell products, right? So we kind of built this funnel of let's get them from they've never heard of us to now they're consuming some of our content to now they're like a fan and a buyer to now we're selling them all kinds of stuff, right? So you be kind of elaborate in the funnels you build out with YouTube, which is pretty cool. Okay, let's talk about one really important thing to do with Google right now, and that's to become an audience black belt. So if you all remember, back in the early days when Google was first coming onto the scenes and you would type in a keyword and your mind would be blown at how accurate the results were. Like, just Google gets me. They get what I'm searching for. They know what I'm looking for. And so we're blown away by that. Keyword targeting and interest targeting is still very powerful on Google, but we need to go beyond that and look at audiences and look at the people behind the search queries, right? So let's talk about audience targeting to reduce waste. So if we're selling, best gluten-free, we're selling gluten-free bread as an example. If we think about it, let's just say that the search query was gluten-free bread. Do we want to target someone who is a health nut and they've been purchasing online health products, for the last 3 weeks, they've been researching health products for the last 2 weeks? Or do we want to maybe target my 15-year-old son who's working on a project in health class and he's looking for pictures and research on gluten-free bread so he can put together his report, right? Same keyword, gluten-free bread, two very, very different people, right? We want to go after the buyer. We want to go after the person who's ready to buy some gluten-free bread. And so with search ads, we can look at things like demographics, geographics, so you can look at age, gender, income, geographics, that may make sense in certain cases, looking at urban areas versus rural areas or places where people are more inclined to buy your product. So those are really important. I also highly encourage, if you are using AdWords, dig into your audience data. So AdWords is breaking down some of this data right now. You can see, who's converting. So this is actually for a cell phone accessories company. And as you might guess, it skews a little bit younger, those that are converting. It's like that 25 to 34 age is really converting. But we've looked at this, like with Boom as an example, we'll just eliminate anybody under the age of 35 because it's all targeted at pro age, women over the age of 45, so we'll axe that. We got another client who sells Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu stuff, and really there are very few females that buy. It's like 2 or 3%. And so we can just eliminate the female audience with that, with some of those offers to save budget and to allow us to go after broader keywords, but to narrow the audience targeting a little bit. So everybody here knows what a lookalike audience is on Facebook? Yeah, lookalike audience. Google has something almost identical. It's called a similar audience. So this is where you would upload your buyer list, so upload your email list, or take one of your remarketing lists, like your abandoned cart, or those that have purchased. Upload that to AdWords, and then Google's going to put together a similar audience. Now, these are not as good as lookalike audiences in Facebook. I think Facebook is a little more advanced here. There are some new innovations. I got to see some beta offerings for similar audiences. You're going to be able to kind of control what you want from a similar audience coming soon. And that'll be a kind of beta that Google is releasing. But here's what you may consider doing. You may say, I want to start bidding on MCT oil. I'd like to just throw that out there and bid on MCT oil. But I only want to do it for people who look like my buyers. I only want to target people that look like my best shoppers and best buyers. And so that's where you'd use a similar audience. And then, as an example, you could run Google Shopping, but only target a similar audience and go after some really top-of-funnel keywords, some really top-of-funnel searches. You guys with me? Following? Awesome. Love these audiences. So these audiences right now are only available on YouTube or Google Display, but very powerful audiences. So in-market audiences, that's where, going back to the bread example, my son may be searching for gluten-free bread, but he may also be searching for things like history of gluten and pictures of gluten-free bread, whereas the person ready to buy gluten-free bread, they're typing in gluten-free bread reviews, best gluten-free bread, where do I buy gluten-free bread? So if you're searching like that and you've got some really high buyer intent, then Google's going to put you in what's called an in-market audience. So they're going to say, hey, these people, they're in the market for skincare or hair care. What's coming up soon, and I'm really excited about this, is you'll be able to soon pick your in-market audience. So right now, Google's got a list of a bunch, I'm not sure how many, in-market audiences you can pick from. So things like skincare, hair care, automotive, stuff like that. Soon you'll be able to say, hey, I want to build an in-market audience of people that have searched for organic chocolate, or people that have typed in, keto-friendly desserts or something like that. I want an audience of people that are in the market for that. Custom affinity audiences. Who here has ever thought, man, wouldn't it be awesome if we could remarket to our competitors' visitors, right? People that go to our competitors' sites, if we could remarket. Anybody been nefarious enough to say, what if we could do that? Yeah. So you actually can get pretty close. So a custom affinity audience, the way this works, is you tell Google, Google, build for me an audience of people who look like those who visit these websites. So then you can give a list of websites to Google, and they will build you an audience of people that look like those who visit those sites. Now, here's what I've heard. These are rumors that I've heard. Don't know if it's true, but a lot of other agencies, a lot of other really smart people believe this is the case. Google probably put some people that actually did visit those sites in that list, right? So this is probably as close as you can get to remarketing to your competitors' visitors. You can also then layer in keywords. So you can say, hey, Google, target people that have been, like those who've been to these websites, and also people interested in these keywords, MCT oil or keto chocolate or whatever. And Google will build for you an audience. This is an amazing audience. If you're going to test Google Display, this is one of the audiences you should test first, right? Or if you're going to run top of funnel YouTube, this is the type of audience that you should test first. Now, I think because this is a closed group, I can share this. This is called custom intent audiences. I'm not sure how well you can see that. But this is basically the same thing as custom affinity. But the difference is when you choose your keywords, it's based on what these people have actually searched for, right? So when you're looking at custom affinity and say you choose keto-friendly desserts as your keyword, it could just be somebody reading an article about keto, right? With custom intent, if you type in that keyword, Google's going to build a list for you of people that have searched for that keyword. So those are people that have typed in that keyword into a Google search. Now they're going to put them into an audience for you. So that's super powerful. Right now you know, based on, it's not just interest targeting like we would do on Facebook. This is intent targeting. We know someone's actively looking and shopping for our category. We're going to put them on an audience. We're going to target them. So if you go higher in the funnel, and by higher in the funnel I mean someone who's in that research stage, they're in that awareness stage, trying to figure out what they want. Be strict with your audience targeting. Don't cast a wide audience net. Maybe cast a wide net in terms of keywords and level of awareness, but be strict with your audiences, right? That's the key. Okay, anybody know who this dude is? Going back to the 90s? Yeah, John Stockton, rocking the short shorts, man. It takes a lot of confidence to rock those short shorts. So John Stockton had a pretty good three-point shot. He could drive a little bit, but what was he really known for? Like what? He was the assist man, right? He would set up Karl Malone. So he would draw the defenders, dish the ball to Malone, the mailman would deliver. It would also be silly to look at John Stockton and say, man, he's not scoring enough points. We got to get the guy out of there, right? He was assisting on a whole lot of their baskets. So one of the things you have to be looking at as you shift top of funnel in your approach is you have to look at assisted conversions. Anybody know where to look at assisted conversions in Google Analytics? A few of you? Justin. Only Justin. Okay. A couple more. So if you're in Google Analytics, really quickly, if you go to the conversion tab and then multi-channel funnels, then you can look at assisted conversions. So basically, an assist is any channel that was part of the conversion path that was not the last click. So the default in everything, which is just ridiculous, and it's so old school and it's silly, the default in everything is last click, right? So whatever that traffic source was right before the conversion, it gets all the credit. So assisted conversions just lets you know where a channel shows up in that conversion path. So maybe Google Shopping was channel number 2 before they actually converted on visit number 5. Or maybe YouTube was step number 1 and they converted on visit number 3. Assisted conversion is going to show you those details. Here's what we see. Often for top of funnel, we're seeing a 2-to-1 assisted to direct. So for every 1 direct or last click conversion that a top of funnel campaign gets us, it's often 2 or 4 or more assisted conversions, right? That's kind of what top of funnel should do. It should assist in conversions later. So we always recommend separating it, right? You don't want to, even though you want to measure both, you don't want to consider them the same thing, right? We're measuring assists, we're measuring baskets. We're not calling them the same thing, but they're both important. So maybe consider combining them or just measure them separately. We usually measure them separately, but you've got to know what's going on there. So really goals for top of funnel. If you can grow those remarketing lists for search ads, and think about this as a goal, even with Facebook, And one thing we're doing with a lot of clients is we're building a Facebook remarketing list. So you can build a remarketing list in analytics of people that have come from Facebook. And then you can do some kind of unique things with that audience. But one of our goals to Top of Funnel is just to grow those lists, grow those remarketing lists, so we have more people to target with our other campaigns. Driving assisted conversions, super important. Increasing our brand campaigns that we talked about. And then really top of funnel, very modest return on ad spend goals. All right, let's talk YouTube for top of funnel. This is one that I'm just totally geeking out about, having a ton of fun with. So if you think about YouTube, it's really a combination of attention. We got all kinds of attention on YouTube, plus intent, because we can see what they're actively doing. You don't just stumble onto YouTube and sit there and stare. But sometimes on Facebook, we're just scrolling mindlessly through our newsfeed, right? If you go to YouTube, you're searching for something. You're looking for a how-to, you're looking for a music video, something. Plus the selling power of video, super, super powerful. So billion users worldwide, I know it's kind of a worthless metric other than just to know that everybody's on YouTube. This was one that surprised me. 40 minutes is the average session length on YouTube. It's actually a little bit longer on YouTube than it is on Facebook. That was a surprise to me, but that's really interesting and something to consider. Here's another thing that's maybe a little bit surprising. 1 out of 4 shoppers looks at video before they make a gift purchase. So I'm about to buy my wife a birthday gift or anniversary gift. Maybe I'm going to consult online video to see what are some new cool products, or if I know what she wants, maybe I'm going to watch some product demos or product reviews to really make my final decision. So I've got a client that sells cell phone accessories, so screen protectors, cases, things like that. We put together a campaign targeting people looking for those products on YouTube, right? What's the number 2 search engine out there? So Google's number 1 by leaps and bounds. Number 2 search engine? YouTube. You guys are smart. So YouTube is the number 2 search engine. So there are more people searching on YouTube for stuff than searching on Bing. We find a lot of people, and you may be surprised by this, people typing in demos, reviews, unboxing, in action, whatever, show me this product, and a review on YouTube. We're seeing a ton of those searches. We like to stack audience targeting. So if you're going top of funnel, people that don't know you, we're going prospecting here with YouTube, consider stacking different audiences. So like for Boom, as an example, we may target keywords plus demographics. So we want people looking at like best skin cream, best facial moisturizer, but then we want to target only women over the age of 45, right? So we got intent, we got some demographics mixed in there. That creates a really powerful audience. And so here's some of the things we did for our cell phone company. So we're looking at things like iPhone 7 case reviews. This is back right when the iPhone 7 was released. I don't know about you, I would never research a video on iPhone 7 cases, but people do it. People watch videos on screen protectors and cases. And so we targeted these audiences or these keywords. Our view-through rate was between 25 and 32%. So these are people typing in, screen protector review. 25 to 32% average view-through rate. Our cost per completed view. So this was either a click to the site or they watched 30 seconds of the video, 2 cents cost per view. Who feels like that's pretty good targeting? Like that's pretty spot on targeting for this product. Okay, how many of you think this drove a flood of conversions? People watch the video, they click through, they're like loading their cart. I want all your screen protectors, I want all your cases. Did it create a frenzy of purchasers right away? It did not. And the reason is because people are just looking at reviews, right? Maybe I just ordered my iPhone 7, or maybe I'm trying to convince my wife to let me have the iPhone 7, and so I haven't purchased yet. But here's what we did see. We saw a huge brand lift. So this is where that branded search campaign comes in, because now we can track conversions. We can take, and even we can get really nerdy and take like a YouTube audience, an audience of people that have watched a YouTube video, layer that into your branded search campaign and see how they convert there. See how many of those branded search conversions came from our YouTube list. But here's what we saw. And this was actually comparing Q1 to Q4, right? So Q4 is peak buying season, Q1 slower, but we actually saw a lift in Q1 over Q4 for branded stuff. So 2 brand campaigns, kind of different focus for them. One, this was after about 3 weeks of running YouTube. One brand campaign was up 17% in clicks, then was up 84% in clicks. We maxed out the branded campaigns, right? So every time someone types in our brand name, we're showing up. So max out our search impression share. So this was just driving more volume of people looking for this product. More importantly than that, conversions up 40% on one campaign, 46% for another. Talk about a few things. So looking at every product differently, SKU level bidding and single product aggregates. So I'll go through this kind of quickly. Figured you guys may want to see a picture of my family. I've got about 5 minutes left, but this is the crew. So if you're counting, you see that I have 6 daughters and 2 sons. So oldest is a boy, youngest is a boy, 6 girls in between. So I work to pay for weddings and to pay for college. Like that is why I'm here. Lots of weddings in my future. But I heard someone say one time, they said, hey, you know, if you treat every child the same, you only have one good kid because all of your children are different, right? So I'm a believer you have to have some consistent rules, right? You have to be consistent with things. You can't play favorites even when you want to, right? You have to be consistent with some things. But some kids are just different, right? I've maybe had one child where if you gave them a stern look, they would just melt, right? They wanted to please you. So if you give them a stern look, they would melt and cry, and that would be the end of their disobedience. I've had other kids, and this would be basically the rest of them, where you would say, I will take away everything you own if you don't stop what you're doing. And they're just like, bring it on, buddy. What you got? You know? So every kid is different. You have to treat them differently. Same with your products and with your offers. You have to treat them differently. So one thing we look at, you can at least look at these reports. We recommend you bid differently, though, on a product basis. Looking at SKU level reports for Google Shopping. What is your cost? What's your click-through rate? What's your return on ad spend at the product level? Because you may find some products just don't convert on Google Shopping, right? So this is one of those channels where we do want to be very strict with our conversions because Google Shopping should convert. So we want to look at, hey, is this converting? Is it not converting? Or maybe it's converting really well and we've got all kinds of room to grow it. Let's bid differently on that. So looking at the SKU level is critically important. So last thing as we kind of wrap up. Let's talk about your approach. So how do you look at growth for your business? I think I know the answer here because, again, you guys are really expansive in your marketing knowledge. You're thinking deep about this. But are you maximizing profits per sale or are you maximizing total profits? And so to give you an example, this is looking at a cost per sale or CPA model where you look at, hey, if we're at like a 60% CPA, what might our goal be? And this is what we hear all the time. Okay, we're at a $60 CPA right now. What if we could get that to 45? What if we could get that CPA to 10? Then what could we do with that, right? But maybe the question you should be asking is, what if we could afford to go to 90? What if our cost per acquisition was actually at $90? But because our bottom of funnel is built out, some of these other things, that would actually drive more overall revenue. So one of the things we look at, and I'll show you kind of our approach in just a second as my final slide, but looking at where can we maximize total profits, right? Because efficiency isn't necessarily the goal. We want to make more money, right? We want to grow this thing. We want to expand this thing. So maybe I should try to spend more, right? I've heard, I think it was Dan Kennedy that said originally, the person that can spend the most to acquire a customer wins, right? If you can afford to spend more because of your upsells and your back end and your funnel, you can beat your competitors because they can't keep up with you. You can spend more than they can. So this is what we look at. We call it a portfolio approach. And so you may have very specific targets where you say, hey, we need to hit this return on ad spend. So for every dollar we spend, we need to get X in sales. Like that's a given. What would be silly, though, is for you to say, okay, every campaign has to get that return on ad spend. Not going to happen, right? But this happens all the time, where we can say, hey, our top of funnel, this is feeding everything else, it may be at like a 0.5 or maybe a 1-to-1 return on ad spend. But as someone is lower in the funnel, then the return on ad spend is higher. So we look at this, then total dollars in and total dollars out may indeed be at a 4 if that's your goal. But we don't hold every level of the funnel to that standard. Does that make sense? Because if you do that, if you say top of funnel has got to be a return on ad spend of 4, top of funnel is going to be tiny. It's going to be non-existent. It's not going to be there, right? So building out this portfolio is super, super powerful. So love to connect with you guys. If you have questions about disapprovals or whatever. One last thing I'll show you. If you're concerned about disapprovals or if you're wondering about a specific product or specific ingredient, this is like the Bible to Google when it comes to supplements. So legitscript.com. You check your competitors, check ingredients, check brands. If this site says you're bad, there's like a yellow flag, red flag. Yellow flag means caution, things you should know about this. Then you have to just proceed with caution. If you're a red flag, it means you're dead to Google. So sorry about that, if that's the case. But check out that site.